So I scarcely know where to begin. Um, but I was just discriminated against in 20 freaking 17 in this day and age. Are you kidding me? So yeah, to my surprise, I was actually discriminated against. Now, before I explain all the nuts and bolts as to why, let me preface this by saying that I am not one to immediately cry foul and go whining around that I have been discriminated against by those evil, awful, bad Christians. I'm using sarcastic quotes there because, as some of you may remember, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had within the pagan community a rash of pagans that were reading a lot of Wicca 101 books that really seemed to encourage this sort of persecution mentality. And I was never a part of that, even though I have been discriminated against for my sexual orientation. I have been, physically assaulted because of that. But yeah, so I've never I've never really been discriminated against based off of someone else's religious ideology before. So this is new to me. This is new terrain. What happened was I am wanting to put up a website, and I have a really clever idea for doing so. How I want to lay it out, the design elements and aesthetics that I want incorporated. And so I sent a very polite email to a woman whose work I dearly respect. Yeah, she wrote me back what was at first a very polite email, explaining that she would be unable, you know, unwilling to help me based off of her personal religious convictions. Um, and she went on to say that no amount of money would would be able to persuade her to fulfill my request at helping me to design a website theme. And no, I'm not going to be telling you what I want on my website, only because I really don't want anyone else, um, stealing my idea, really, because I really do think it's a rather unique idea. Um, yeah, so she then went on to quote several chapters, or not chapters, but several verses rather, from the Old Testament. There was, of course, Leviticus. Thankfully, not the section about suffering a witch to live. That would have been rather hostile. But there was Deuteronomy and Galatians. Uh, it, it was extremely unusual. I've never been put in this position before. Um, yeah, I've respected her work for years, but I'm really not sure what to do at this point. Even if I got her to design a website for me, I would really be put off based off of our short correspondence, because it would be forever tainted with that unpleasant taste in my mouth, that unpleasant memory, and I really don't want that. God, it was and at first I was like, is she serious? Am I really reading this? Is this really happening to me? I mean, come on, this is 20 fucking 17. Who does that anymore? It even defies rational sense because doing so can really open you up to a quite substantial lawsuit. It just doesn't make any sense to do so. Um, she's offering a public service. She didn't even have the decency to put a notice on her two websites about the type of clients she will accept and those she will not. Um, if anyone is interested in knowing who she is, um, you can contact me and I will tell you who she is just to make sure that you don't have a website by her or so you don't purchase anything from her in the future if you so choose. I'm really not interested in divulging her name publicly. Only because she clearly has a lot more funds than I do, and she could be very litigious. So I'm not interested in being sued anytime soon, even though she brought it on herself. I was even mentioning this to a friend of mine last night who is an amazing witch. His knowledge of the occult in certain areas even rivals my own, which is, I must say, a huge aphrodisiac. Um, he could just talk my ears off, and I would just be drooling and salivating and just wanting him to say more because it's just a huge turn on. But I digress. We were chatting, and he was all like, you should get a little magical justice out of this situation, and he recommended that I buy a Black Witch candle, which I'll get to that in a minute. And he said, get some dog poop and melt the candle all over the dog poop, and it will make her think twice before this is another witch. And he has a point. Often those Black Witch candles are used in cursing, and I've never really been one to shy away from all forms of magic. I really like to keep myself well versed in in the variety of spells there are. But he really got me thinking about this specific candle afterwards. That its main focus has always been to curse or to cause harm, but it occurred to me that we as witches could really um, shape the nature in which this candle is used in spells and magic to this day. We could, start using it en masse in personal protection spells to to protect witches specifically. Um, the imagery is right there in the candle itself. Just anoint it with a Hecate potion, and you have an amazing spell to protect witches in all shapes and sizes. I'm not saying that I will curse her, but I'm not saying I won't either. It it really depends on how I'm feeling. Uh, the fact is that she's really not worth my energy personally. Um, but yeah, I am still looking for someone to help me design a website. So if anyone knows anyone, you'll let me know. God, I still can't believe this happened in 20 fucking 17 of all, you know, ah, I, s- I'm still just shaking my head. Who does that nowadays? Uh, I guess I don't really have much more to add today. But I hope you're well. I hope you're wonderful. I really hope that that no one watching this has to face a clear and a clear and evident example of persecution and discrimination. So until I post something else, keep calm and witch on. Gods know I will.